For the first time in a long time, the Blue Jackets might actually be the hotter team in a matchup. We're talking today about what the heck is going on in Detroit and whether the Blue Jackets can take advantage on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jacket, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app, use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. So, going to be an interesting game tonight, I think. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode. The Blue Jackets are in Michigan. They are taking on the Red Wings for, I believe, their last matchup of the season against Detroit. Detroit has won both of the first games. The first one, a 4-0 shutout back in October. It was like the fourth or fifth game of the season. And I think probably the first game where I started getting a bad feeling about how this season was going. And then again in November, the Red Wings won 5-4. That being said, that Red Wings team is not the Red Wings team that the Blue Jackets are going to be facing tonight for a variety of reasons. It's also not the Blue Jackets team that was playing in those games either for different reasons. So let's talk a little bit about what is going on in Detroit. I actually messaged a friend and co-worker, Brian, over at Locked On Red Wings to talk a little bit about what's going on in Detroit, because they had in January and February, they were at a 70% point percentage. They'd won 70% of possible points. And they ended February on a 6-game winning streak. Dylan Larkin gets hurt. They lose 7 straight games. And everything is terrible in Detroit, apparently. Alex Lyon has come back down to earth. Reimer has been bad all season. Ville Husso hasn't played, basically. Their special teams have fallen apart. They've got no help with the forwards defensively, and apparently Ben Sherratt and Jeff Petrie are playing 20 minutes a night, despite the fact that neither of them are very good at hockey. So I feel like Brian's really going through something right now, but I appreciate him sending me these things because I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, how does this match up against the Blue Jackets? But I didn't realize how integral Dylan Larkin was to this matchup or to the Red Wings' success in general. He's been missing for 13 games now, it looks like, and he's still only 3 points off the team lead in scoring. He's leading the team in goals with 26. He's got 54 points in 55 games. Their current leader, Lucas Raymond, has 57 points in 68 games. So Dylan Larkin was having a really, really good season for this team. And losing him apparently has caused this trickle-down effect where everyone is kind of suffering a little bit. Alex DeBrincat apparently has been invisible in the past few games. I'm just pulling up when his last goal was. He hasn't scored a goal since February 27th versus Washington. I think he has 4 even strength goals in the year 2024 as of right now. So that's not going great. Like I said, Dylan Larkin being out is a problem. They're going to be without Jake Wallman tonight as well, who is one of their top 2 defensemen. Moritz Seider is probably going to be playing like 35 minutes a night, which is kind of good news for the Red Wings because he is their best defenseman. But on the flip side, do they really want him to be playing a bajillion minutes a night? No. However, he's apparently the only defenseman that they can trust. Because again, the aforementioned Ben Sherratt, Jeff Petrie as their second or third defense pairing is a problem. Probably their third defense pairing. I feel like Shane Gostisbehere and someone else, who knows, is their second defense pairing. Gostisbehere actually having a really great season, 45 points in 67 games. goaltending is going to be interesting, I think. It says here that James Reimer has a 906 save percentage, which does not jive with Brian's assessment that he's been terrible all season, but apparently he's been bad recently. So that could be something that the Blue Jackets could really take advantage of. He was good against Buffalo when he played March 16th. And then the 3 previous games, he had an under 900 save percentage, a 944 in the game after that. So he's got, in his last 5 games, he's got 2 wins and 3 under 900 save percentage games. So my guess is Alex Lyon starts because he's played the bulk of the games so far. He's got I was going to say he's got the better recent stats. He hasn't. James Reimer has the better recent stats. So maybe James Reimer plays. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Alex Lyon has been abysmal recently. And I say that as someone who has watched a lot of abysmal goaltending this season, not necessarily with the Blue Jackets, but with, the other games that I watch. His last good game would have been February 24th versus St. Louis. He stopped 22 of 23 shots for the win. Since then, he's allowed 3 goals on 21, 4 goals on 26, 4 on 37, 5 on 40, 4 on 24, 4 on 13, brutal, 3 on 26, and 5 on 37. And that's his last, 8 games. So things are not great in goal for Detroit right now, which I think is probably going to work out in the Blue Jackets' favor. You'll see in my little side thing here, is Tarasov starting? I'm actually recording this as morning skate is happening for the Blue Jackets right now. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that Tarasov is going to start. He's been great his past handful of games. He has been, again, just pulling up his stats. He has played, let's see, he's played 5 games in the month of March so far, and his lowest save percentage is a 923. Played against Vegas, 3 goals on 39 shots, 2 goals on 31 against Edmonton, 2 on 49 against Nashville, and this stupid team still lost. He came in relief at Montreal after Elvis allowed 3 goals on 4 shots or whatever it was, saved 19 of 19. And then against San Jose, 2 goals on 41 shots, and they managed to get the win then. So he's 3-1 technically in his last 5 games, because the March 12th game doesn't count because he didn't start. And he also wasn't on the ice when the game-winning goal was scored. So in his last 5 starts, he's 3-2. And the last time he had an under 900 save percentage was against Ottawa on February 13th when he allowed 5 goals on 29 shots. Since then, he's been excellent. So I imagine he's going to be starting for the Blue Jackets tonight, and that feels like the right choice. I know I talked a little bit about this in yesterday's episode. I have been a big Elvis defender this season, but it really feels like you can only have one of your goalies succeed at a time. Again, Elvis, excellent in the most recent game against Ottawa. They lost in overtime, but he made 35 of 37 saves. Was great against Chicago, 2 goals on 28, 2 goals on 28 against New York as well. And then again, Montreal, bad. Winnipeg, worse, I would argue, because Montreal was just a bad 5 minutes. Winnipeg, I thought he was very poor all game. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens as you kind of go down the stretch here. But I imagine right now it's Tarasov's net to lose, which is probably fair if I'm being honest. Why, like, I don't know. If you want to give yourself the best chance to win, you've got to go with a hot hand in goal. And right now, that's Daniil Tarasov, who, again, has been excellent in the month of March. They've kind of been rotating starts, so I think probably that's probably what will continue to happen. Elvis played on Sunday against Winnipeg, Tarasov played the game before that, and they rotated. So it's Tarasov's turn, but also, even if it wasn't, I probably would have started Tarasov tonight, just because he's been the better goalie. And if you're playing a team like Detroit, who has, their goaltending has really struggled, give yourself the best chance to succeed. Put the hot goalie in and try and take advantage of a team that is really kind of falling apart. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what exactly is falling apart and what has gone so wrong for the Red Wings in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you guys about Sleeper, because we're almost at the end of the season right now, and, I feel like the less is better. The less said about the Blue Jackets season is better, but regardless of that, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing Daily Fantasy Hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because you can win 100 times your cash in their daily contests. They also have NFL, NBA, MLB, college football, but let's be honest, hockey is the best one. So go ahead and play some daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. Entries can be made in under a minute, and all you have to do is pick whether guys like Jenner, Gaudreau, Sider, DeBrincat, Kane will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times your money on Sleeper, all you need to do is correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me right, Blue Jackets fans. You can win 100 times your money by correctly predicting 8 player stats. Just get 8 questions right, put $5 in, and you can win $500. So start paying attention, nail your picks so you can start winning big. Must use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day every single day. We're talking about what the heck is going on in Detroit. And the answer is nothing good. They are top 10 in power play percentage right now in the league at 23%. But that has been it's not been great. The penalty kill has also kind of fallen off a cliff. I'm looking to see if I can find those stats now. So the Red Wings have power play goals, in 5 of their last 7 games, but they've also allowed a shorthanded goal in that time against the Arizona Coyotes, of all teams. And against the Sabres, they actually had, in 6 minutes of power play time, they had 3 shots and then 2 against. So that's an average of 1 shot a power play and also 1 shot against every power play and a half. So it's looking rough against the Sabres, which they won. They had 4 minutes of power play time and 1 shot for and 1 shot against in 4 minutes. It's looking rough. Their best attempt was probably and again, it's just kind of the last 5 games against the Golden Knights, which they ended up losing that game 5-3. They scored a power play goal. They had 6 shots in 5:43 of power play time. Probably their worst attempt was against the Panthers at the beginning of the month. 6 shots in 9.5 minutes of power play time and 2 against. So it's not going super great. It's probably going better than the Blue Jackets. And again, this is something I was talking to Brian Fisher of Locked On Red Wings about, is usually the Blue Jackets is good for what ails you. Their special teams, after being great, their penalty kill was great at the start of the season. Their power play has been terrible all season. Terrible to mid. Terrible to mediocre, let's say. Their power play is currently sitting at 31st in the league at 14%. So the Red Wings have a 10% jump on power play efficiency. They're 13th on the penalty kill versus the Blue Jackets at 23rd. It's gonna be really interesting, I think, in terms of can the Blue Jackets avoid giving the Red Wings a way to get back into the playoffs? Because right now they're on the outside looking in. They are fighting with the shambling corpse of the Washington Capitals, who have somehow decided to make the playoffs against their will, despite having a goal differential of -30, which is very funny. But against the Penguins, they went 50% on the power play and 75% on the penalty kill. So their special teams, fine. It was really their even strength that that killed them. They allowed, I think, four even strength goals and then an empty net goal at the end to make it 6-3. One power play goal for the Penguins, one power play goal for the Red Wings. But like I said, Blue Jackets, I genuinely don't remember their last power play goal. Like, not off the top of my head. Was it against the Sharks? Did they score a power play goal then? They did not. So let's pull that up actually. The point being here is Detroit's special teams are allegedly struggling, but actually they're doing better than the Blue Jackets. And like I said, the Blue Jackets love to give teams a way back into the game, the season. I'm going to talk a little bit about who's going to be playing tonight for the Red Wings. Okay, the Blue Jackets scored a power play goal a couple of games ago against the Senators in that 3-2 loss. That was it. They scored one power play goal on 6 shots with 4:37 of ice time. That was March 14th. You have to go back to February 22nd to 29th, excuse me, to find the time before that the Blue Jackets scored a power play goal. 3 shots on 2:51 of power play time. Again, one power play goal. They 3 in the space of 4 games between the 23rd and the 29th, and then did absolutely nothing for fully 2 weeks. They haven't scored one in 2 games. In terms of the penalty kill, which I think that's probably the thing that I am more concerned about, just because the Red Wings are struggling, but I think the power play is something that they really want to get going. The Blue Jackets haven't allowed a power play goal in a few games either. Their last one was against the Canadiens, in again that no good, very bad 3-0 win where everyone except Elvis turned up on time, and he turned up 5 minutes later. Before that, 1 against the Oilers, 2 against the Penguins. So the penalty kill has been pretty okay in the last handful of games, but I'm still looking at the special teams to play a big part in this game, because the Red Wings know that they have to keep their special teams they have to figure out their special teams, and they have to keep them from getting worse. I think they're on a little bit of a downward slide at the minute, but like I said, playing the Blue Jackets is real good for what ails you in this season, and I think the Blue Jackets are gonna struggle to keep the Red Wings off the score sheet. Looking at who's kind of hot or not for the Red Wings right now, Lucas Raymond has 6 points in his last 5 games, including 5 goals. So he, again, with Dylan Larkin being out, he's done a lot of the heavy lifting. Alex DeBrincat is another guy. He's got 54 points in 68 games. Hasn't been great at even strength, but will probably get things done on the power play. Interestingly, a game time decision, Michael Rasmussen is somehow plus 11 on this team that is almost all negatives. It's him and Ole Mata and Andrew Kopp have positive plus-minus differentials, which is very funny. Plus-minus is not a real stat that anyone should use, but I do think it's funny when like just the most random guys are like plus 17 on an otherwise dire team. But he's a game time decision, so he's probably not playing. Interestingly, Simon Edvinsson is going to be coming into the lineup for the Red Wings, and that's going to shake up their defensive core, and that's kind of what I want to talk about next, because I want to talk about the Blue Jackets' defensive core and how that should be shaken up. So we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I tell you all about Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every single dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. There's no cap on that 3% match either, which is great. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA is available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SPIC, is a registered broker-dealer. Welcome back to Locked on Blue Jackets. Let's talk about defensemen because Simon Edvinsson has been called up, presumably due to Jake Wallman being unavailable. I don't know where he's going to slot into the lineup, but Edvinsson is a player that I have more than a passing familiarity with because he is a guy that I was looking for the Blue Jackets to take 5th overall back in 2021. Obviously, they took Ken Johnson. Thrilled with that choice. But Edvinsson is going to be a monster for this team, I think. Will that be tonight? Only maybe. He, I believe, has played 2 games for the Red Wings so far this season and has 1 assist in that time. I don't know that he's scored his first NHL goal yet, which means he's probably going to score that tonight. Because if I know the Blue Jackets, they love to let players score their first. They love to let players do their first of anything. First career shutout. Okay, he scored 2 goals last season in 9 games with the Red Wings. This season, 2 games played, 1 assist, 2 penalty minutes, average time on ice of 14:38, 1 shot on goal. So, again, hasn't scored yet this season, but again, the Blue Jackets love to let players score their first goals of the season, especially when it gets to about now, and players haven't scored all season. I genuinely was shocked when Connor Brown did not score against the Blue Jackets when they played the Oilers the other week because he hasn't scored all season. And he just did, like, the other day. So I'm looking at Simon Edvinsson to score a goal tonight. Other players that haven't scored or don't score very much, Austin Sarnik, who I don't think is playing. He hasn't scored all season. He's got 1 point in 21 games. Justin Hall, I think might be injured actually, so he's probably out. But if he was playing, I would also look at him to score a goal because again, this team loves to do that. It's going to be interesting to see what the Red Wings do because this is a very different team to the one that faced the Blue Jackets earlier in the season and basically beat them up and took their lunch money. For one of those games at least. I think 5-4 is a little bit closer, but that 4-0 game, how are you going to let James Reimer shut you out, man? It was bad. It was a bad game. And it really we should all have seen this season coming after that game. I'll be interested to see what the Blue Jackets do with their defensive lineups. Again, I'm recording this literally as morning skate is going on, so I don't think there are any kind of lineup anything's happening right now. I'm just checking the usual suspects to make sure of this. But I would love to see something different. And I don't know what that different thing is, but I would love to see literally anything different. I don't think Werenski Bean works. I don't think Gabranson Christensen was as good as it could have been. I might just flip those 2 players. Leave Provorov and Severson where they are. They're a perfectly cromulent second pairing. They are inoffensive to me right now. But like I said, Bean and Werenski was kind of a nightmare. Werenski, I thought, had his worst game in a long time against Winnipeg. And if Boquist is not ready to go, then you can't put him with Bean. I don't think he worked with Provorov. Like, you could put Severson up there, but then you split up the Severson-Provorov pairing. Although, like, maybe that's the option here. Maybe that's the solution, is you do Werenski-Severson, which, again, is fine, inoffensive. Provorov and Christensen. Provorov has had some success playing with younger defensemen this season in terms of I feel like he plays a little bit more sensibly when he's kind of the adult on the line, on the pairing, if that makes sense. I feel like there's less kind of chaos and less adventures by him if he knows that he's the responsible one. Maybe that's like recency bias, maybe that's me making things up entirely, but I feel like putting him with Christian, like with Jiricek, I feel like, for example, I feel like Provorov and Jiricek as a pairing worked because Provorov was the adult on the line and let Jiricek be the guy that was kind of a little bit chaotic and kind of a little bit needed to be reined in. So put Christensen there, maybe, and then put Bean and Gabranson back together. Because again, I have zero issues with that defense pairing. As it stands, I think they've been maybe the most consistent defense pairing that the Blue Jackets have had all season, which again feels like a problem. If your most consistent defense pairing is your third pairing that consists of Eric Gabranson and literally anyone else. So defense is going to be defense. It has to be a thing for me tonight. I think like they got their lunch money taken by the Sharks, and Tarasov won that game single-handedly. The Winnipeg game was just a mess from every single person, minus like 3 guys. So I'm looking for people who aren't the top line to show up, because again, Winnipeg was a really great example of what happens when your top line doesn't goes cold, which is fine, it happens. But if the offense you're looking at is coming only from Brendan Gaunce, that's a problem, you know? So either the Blue Jackets top line needs to get involved and needs to figure it out and needs to score, which I have no real problems with them taking a night off. Not that they took a night off. They were, I think, 3 of the 4 best defensive players for the Blue Jackets, them and Kirill Marchenko, and just couldn't break through Hellebuck. So, this is not me saying that top line was bad against Winnipeg, but the rest of the team needs to step up when that top line is being squashed like that. So I'm looking for everyone to be better, I think. But that top line, I think, really needs to focus on breaking through, on just keep on doing what you're doing, and the offense will come, you know? On the flip side, I think the bottom 9 needs to be better. I think I would be okay with some, mixing around and some tinkering and just doing whatever. Just do something different. I don't think any of the lines as it stands right now, bar that top line, maybe the 4th line can stay together. I have no real issues with the 4th line right now, but again, they play 12 minutes a night, so it's hard for them to be kind of egregiously bad. But that middle 6, there's nothing in there that I'm yes, I want to keep these specific players together and don't do anything else. Mix up that middle 6. Let get weird with it, you know? Voronkov, Fix-Wolansky, and Texier. I don't know. Just throw random stuff and see what happens, because clearly what's happening right now isn't working. We're going to finish off with some not Blue Jacket specific news, something that I saw when I went to see if any of the lineups happened, but shout out to a friend of the show, Gavin Brindley, who's been named the Big Ten Hockey Player of the Year. He got named to the All-Star, the Big Ten first team of All-Stars. Brindley with teammate Rutger McGrorty, Jimmy Snuggerud, Seamus Casey, another teammate, and then Artem Levchinov and Kyle McClellan are all the Big Ten first team All-Stars. And then he got, on top of that, your Big Ten Player of the Year. He has, I've just had the stats, here it is. He's 5th in all of college hockey with 27 goals. He is 6th with 51 points. In his last 12 games, he's got 9 goals and 12 assists for 21 points. I just want to speak to everyone that thought that he was just a product of playing with Adam Fantilli, and I want to speak to everyone that thought he was too small, because I'm really excited to see what happens at the end of this season. I would love if he went pro. I think he would, again, just light the AHL on fire next season, but I'm also fine with him going back to college. But because I saw it literally as I was looking for lineup choices for tonight, I saw that. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Again, Gavin Brindley, maybe my favorite Blue Jackets prospect right now. If we consider that, we're not considering Fantilli a prospect anymore, I don't think, even though probably technically is. I go back and forth on what my criteria for prospect is. But if we talk about guys that aren't in the organization yet, so guys that are not full-time NHL lineup guys at the minute, Brindley is definitely my favorite guy on that list, and I'm really excited for him to do this. I am curious to see if he manages to get a Hobie Baker nomination. I don't think he will, but I think it would be really fun if he did. Congratulations to him. We'll talk about him a little bit later on this week. I think I want to do kind of like a prospect roundup of some playoff stuff. Obviously, Denton Matejchuk up in Moose Jaw. Jordan Tomei when he gets back from his suspension, which is a whole other thing. Brindley, William Whitelaw. There's just a whole lot going on in the prospect world. So I want to talk about that later on this week. But right now, we're just going to give a round of applause to Gavin Brindley for killing it and flipping off every single person who said that he was just a product of playing with Adam Fantilli and he wasn't going to be as good this season as he was last season. So near to you. And that's all I've got for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about tonight's game. Later on this week, also, we have some goalie talk coming up. I've got a very good friend of mine coming to talk about the goaltending this season. So Elvis and Tarasov. We're going to talk about some goalie prospects that are in the system. So Jet Greaves, Sergei Ivanov, Pavel Chayan. And we're also going to take a look at some undrafted goalie prospects that the Blue Jackets could potentially pick up in the upcoming draft. I know, I think, one of my wonderful everydayers, I think it's Ben, is very adamant that the Blue Jackets need to take a goalie in the second round of this upcoming draft. So we're going to take a look at some of the guys that could be available there, and maybe if they can steal another goalie prospect that will be as good or better than Ivanov, because he, I think, is exceeding expectations for everyone right now. So I'm really excited to talk about him, but that's coming up later this week. Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for making it your first listen of the day, even if it is probably going to be 1 p.m. by the time it goes up. It's fine. I had some tech issues. I don't want to talk about it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us your first listen. You can find Locked on Blue Jackets wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on SiriusXM. You can listen to the game on SiriusXM tonight. Bob McGillicuddy, the radio broadcast, does a really, really great job of doing play-by-play if you can't watch the game. So just type Blue Jackets into the SXM app and enjoy the game that way, because sometimes it's better than whoever they get to do play-by-play for national games. Almost always, actually. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.